We're moving on off new business to our reports. Report on October 23rd, Operations Department. Damon, welcome.
Hi, King.
Thank you, President Ratterman. Hello, Director Cicada. You. More adventures. The adventures continued in October. We'll just jump right in here. A couple items of note are Tule removal project at White Pines, which we'll share some pictures. And just want to point out that the Jenny Lind distribution crew put repair clamps on 49 service lines in the month of October. This is all while the utility crew is out replacing service lines. So it's that twofold shotgun approach to service line repair and replacement that we have happening. All right, let's this guy over here. There we go. One thing that I thought it was important to kind of point out is some of these older poly service lines, you can see the repair clamp is the stainless steel and blue apparatus. So that's an old repair clamp that our guys cut out of there. And they cut the service line out, but the service line itself, the black poly, is flaking away. So this is something new that we haven't really seen on any of these.
You don't replace that black poly stuff?
So, yes, we do.
Oh.
So that's what's getting replaced, but we haven't really ever seen it flake like that, which is kind of interesting. Normally it splits and rips and so flaking is kind of interesting. It's worth just kind of noting. This is kind of some of the things that our folks out in the field note and report out to us. So the fact that our Jenny Lind crew's out repairing 49 service lines means that they don't have a lot of time to address O&M related work efforts on pressure reducing valves. So in this case, this is a pressure reducing valve where pilot control failed on Friedman, and you can see the velocity of the water in the image on the right. So often when we're reducing pressure, we're reducing high pressure to a lower pressure. So that could be anywhere from above, 180, 200 PSI down, even higher than that at times, right? So these are dangerous. These can be dangerous tools that we use. And so it's just worth noting that, three distribution crew members working most of the time making water system repairs doesn't leave a lot of time for O&M. And so we have an emergency like this. You can see the image on the left too, is the box full of water. And then the guys have used the vac tube on the right to suck all the water out. And then you can see the velocity of the water spraying off the pilot controls. But the image on the right, I also want to point out the box, the box is disintegrating also. So we have a lot of PRVs, pressure reducing valves, particularly up on Ebbets Pass. We have over 100. And the vault oftentimes can be as dangerous or as much of a concern as the actual valve itself. And this is kind of one of those cases. So the image on the left, Kelly and Gerkensmeyer and I were having a conversation yesterday about the good old fashioned copper tubing with flared and compression fittings. It used to be an art to kind of run the pilot controls on a pilot valve or a control valve. And now we have this flexible braided steel hose, which is like a revelation. And that's what our guys replaced the failed tube with in the image on the right. You can see it's kind of shiny up the top, and that's what failed. And then, more of the same, MRF, we have a fire check that has a pressure reducing valve that maintains velocity or volume through the fire check if that fire check were to ever open. And this is a piece of brass that failed at the threads. The image on the right, you can see the hole. And so our guys, will get in there and replace those when they can. Ideally, we have crews that can get out there and exercise these. Oftentimes you have a high flow, low flow, depending on water use. Sometimes the low flow doesn't operate very much, or sometimes the high flow doesn't operate very much. And so, part of O&M or the pressure reducing valve or sustaining valves to get out there and make them work, and then assess kind of their fittings and the pilot controls and make repairs as necessary. So as we work to replace service lines, the goal is that we can transition our crews to doing a lot of this preventative maintenance work that we're showing you images of here as they fail. Moving up to West Point, this is kind of an interesting one that just really in a couple of pictures illustrates that often where the water is perking, the repair is not at that location. So the image on the right, you can see the hole full of water up at the top of the image, and then kind of in the middle is the hole with the repair clamp in it. And you can see our operator has set up his workstation in the image on the left, where with a tarp, so he can get on his knees and and not get soaking wet. And a good old fashioned Folgers plastic can is always really handy when you have to bail out a hole.
So you're saving
Can't say enough
money,
great things
You're
about
reusing stuff.
yes, that's reuse.
Thank you.
Absolutely. An image of telecom and power mixed with water. So you can
What could go
see,
wrong?
right, so you can see a repair clamp on a water line right under, and I'm not sure, frankly, that could be calm a lot of times when it looks just like the water line in that area. It could be telephone, and then the bigger stuff can be, contains
Wonder if people
power.
complain their internet or phone so.
Right. So, I mean, and we run into these challenges throughout the service areas, up on the pass, over in Copperopolis, West Point, just an image of what our guys deal with. And then, you know, maintenance at their warehouse, replacing the water heater, do all that work in-house. Hats off to Doug and Scott Gretzmacher up in West Point, because they kind of handle everything up there. This is a great one that illustrates the pressure on a water line repair. So this is a repair, service line repair off Cheyenne. This one in Canyon View, I believe it was also a service at the main, but this is the image. You know, it's just kind of a telling image. You got the vac truck there, operator with flashlight, and then the pickup tube, and then just water shooting into the sky. So it's some of what our guys deal with. And then just give you an understanding of, even if it's just a service line, oftentimes it can be a heck of a lot of water that comes out during a failure. And so you can see the water finding its way down to somebody's front yard in the image on the left, and then all over the street in the image on the right. You can see the service truck, the cones, and then the vac truck in the background. And then our operator, Billy, on the left, kind of reaching down in there to see what he can find, what he can feel. You know, repair by Braille. And then the image on the right, just, you know, how much water shoots out into the street.
Don't feel bad. That's Billy's happy place, actually. He's happy as he can be right there.
Yeah, but more of the same here. You know, we have service line repair. So the image on the left is pre-repair. The blue is actually the water line. And then the image on the right is post-repair. And then, you know, any number of telecom and electrical running below that. It can be quite the adventure. Fire hydrant repairs up on the pass. So the hydrant is knocked off. The bolts are there. The valve is still in place. So oftentimes, you know, this happens, fender bender, somebody takes the corner and kind of misses where they should have been and pops our hydrant off. This is the best case scenario for us. Worst case scenario is there's water shooting everywhere. So our guys can go out then and reestablish the hydrant. You can also see the image on the left. The clean out for the sewer line was also blown out there too. So we also get our collections crew involved to fix the failed clean out. And you can kind of see it poking up in the ABS in the image on the right. Looks like the right turn sign is pointing right at it from the far side of the picture.
I've seen instances where people had that accident, and they run a hydrant, and some,
Hide the evidence.
they stay at home.
Oh, yeah, interesting.
Right.
Yard art, I guess, right? Yeah, that's terrible. Here's another one.
Got it in your front yard, your insurance company gives you a better rate.
Oh, that's true. Yes, that is true. Right. That's very smart, actually. I wonder if we'll see an uptick.
I got one in my front
Hydrant
yard.
theft. You know, anything's possible. Some of the stuff we see these days out, we're associated with our stuff.
Can I buy one of the
Right.
broken ones?
And so more of the same up on Lightning on the pass. And our guys get out there and reestablish the hydrant and grease it and fix it and put it back into service. Here's another service line repair on Navajo. Just kind of, this is one of the striking images for this one is you can kind of look behind the distribution operators there in the image on the left, and you can see the USA marks in the street.
Oh,
And then when you look at this image on the right, you can see just what's going on there in the image on the left. You know, you got a service line underneath, electrical conduit, telecom, any number of things going on, and you can see all the red and orange in the image on the right. So this is really where it's super important to have a really close relationship with all the folks that work in the different utilities in your service area. And I know our folks do a great job establishing relationships and maintaining those with, you know, the PG&E guy and the you know, the telecom people. And so it's times like these where we have an issue that it's really important to kind of leverage those friendships and ask for help. And then you can see the repair made below the conduits there in the image on the right. And then the vac truck in action over the image on the left, kind of where the USA marks in white, and then all the orange and red in the picture there. This was, so we have a lift station 3 by White Pines Lake, and there's some drainage on our property that would cause issues and periodically flood the street and give us issues at our lift station. So on our free time, our guys go out and, you know, improve our facilities. And this is one of those occasions where they were able to kind of reestablish the drain and just in really good housekeeping, making sure that our property's nice, clean and clear. There's no issues there. So here's kind of USA line locating to the extreme, actually to the responsible effort, you know. So we've got folks that actually these are potholes. So when you talk about a potholing plan for a CIP project, or we need to go pothole X water line to understand where it lives and how it turns and how it is situated in the ground. This is what is entailed in potholing. So our folks are out confirming location of water line and then making their marks. And then in the image here on the left, marking and painting the blue water line right next to the green sewer manhole. So you can see that just how close that water line is to the sewer line. And it's kind of hard to tell in the image on the right, but you have blue marks on the road and then flagging that kind of illustrates exactly where the water main goes. Routine work on the pass.
And
This is
maybe Damon, just touch on how huge of a work effort marking is these days and how that's increased.
Yeah, so you know, it's I think it's pretty clear to all of us now, and Randy brought it up earlier in the fact that PG&E is undergrounding a lot of their infrastructure throughout most all of the county. And so they issue a ton of underground service alerts. And when they issue those underground service alerts, it's important that we go out and locate our infrastructure so that it's not damaged. And we don't have a water outage or a boil water advisory, or we don't have a sewer spill. And so the uptick over the past, I would say it's a little, almost about 5 years now. It's just been astronomical. I mean, we were in the thousands of USAs the last few years up on Ebbets Pass.
Yeah.
And so if we don't get to them, you know, it's on us. If they hit it, we're out there repairing it because we didn't mark it. And so it's critically important that we get out there and we mark these things. And so oftentimes this work, you know, if we have a small service line leak and it's just kind of a bubble in the street, we're going to let that thing buck because we got to go mark this. PG&E's about to take out 3 power poles next to a 12-inch water main. You know, we're going to go fix that service line leak in a couple of days. So those are some of the challenges that we face with USAs. That's an air relief valve in the image on the left. There's a little circle at the top, and you know, there's a diaphragm there, and there's usually a ball or some sort of a float that's pressing that diaphragm up against the top of that valve to keep it closed. And then if air perks into the system, that ball will drop and it'll allow that air to escape. And so Billy in the image on the right is pulling a chlorine residual sample off a fire hydrant while flushing. So freshening water and also working to understand what the chlorine residuals are out in the distribution system. And then so here's a project our mechanics did. And incidentally, we have a full house of mechanics, which we haven't had in over a year. So this is great. And they immediately get together, and this is an intake structure at a waste facility. So there's a trough in the image on the left. And then if you can imagine that screw or that spiral in the image on the right sitting in that trough. And what it does is it slowly spins and it grabs a hold of any debris that's not human made in the waste stream, and it draws it out and it dumps it into a trash can. So that could be plastic, Swiffers, mop, rags, whatever. It'll pull it out of there. Well, the way these things are situated in troughs, the brushes on them degrade over time, and some of that debris can slip through toothpicks, Q-tips. And so our mechanics got out and they fabricated this device that sits perfectly in the trough And it directs all the flow through the stainless steel vent right into that spiraling pickup tube on the headwork screen. So great work, great job.
They
Good job.
fabricated it, manufactured it themselves?
Correct. Yep.
Is this something that you could put together for the JPIA? Is it too
Yeah,
late?
absolutely.
To
We did submit, we submitted on some other items, but we can keep that in our back pocket for the
Okay.
next one.
Oh, good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you heard back from them
I
on?
have not. No, I have not.
All right.
But that one was, that was associated with the Vallecito project.
Okay.
Damon, do they
Submitted on.
fabricate them here in this building?
Correct. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Big metal plate.
Awesome.
Damon?
Yeah. Yeah.
You-
Go back to the bottom of the structure.
Right. So so if you can imagine it's sitting in there
Yeah.
and then that corkscrew on the right, you put that, so you can see it's hanging from sorry, I'm jumping around here. You can see it's hanging from a crane.
Right.
We got it floated in the air, right? And so we'll set the face of that corkscrew down in that trough and it'll now sit directly in front of this stainless steel circular, it's expanded metal. So it's got it's full of holes, and then that neoprene will kind of shape to the trough itself and it's watertight. So all that waste then has to flow right through that channel and gets attacked by the corkscrew. And so then all the Q-tips and toothpicks and as much as critically, as we can, eggshells and all that good stuff gets
So
drawn
the
out.
larger stuff is moved away elsewhere, because you wouldn't want.
Have we
the
patented
larger
this
stuff
apparatus
going
yet?
there.
Great questions. I'll talk to our mechanical staff about it. Yeah.
Yeah, because you want to sell that patent to pay for all the CIP work.
Yeah.
They might have, I'm worried that they would take that and run with it and be like, okay, CCWD, we're starting our own.
We need to have-
No, they did it on district time. District
We
owns
need
it.
District
so-
time. Yeah.
Yep. You need to have, make sure that's a clause on there,
Uh,
like a non-compete.
Yeah,
Damon,
yeah.
you've shown
They
us
get a bonus.
page after page after page of problems in Arnold and Evans Pass. Is the director in that area letting things slide up there or what?
Yeah. Well, I will tell you that, depending on bandwidth, some of our field folks have more time to share with me some of what they're doing with images. And depending on what's going on, I know our folks in Copper have been pretty darn busy, so.
So they don't have time to take photographs. That's all
Yeah.
that's going on.
Yeah. And some guys are, it's more important that they share. And other guys, they actually, you got to pry it out of them. Hey, what are you, no, you don't want to see what I'm working on.
Yeah, well, last month we were down in Jenny Lind a lot. Remember that?
Yeah.
Did we take our cameras away from those guys?
Yeah.
Earlier in this meeting, Francisco said that he had a snapshot and you had a film. Where's your film? This,
I know. I haven't
right
used film, frankly, in quite a while. So now it's all my phone. It's all the phone, right?
okay. Carry on.
Okay. So White Pines Dam, you can see that we have a big bucket and we're trying to put a smooth edge on it so we can continue with the Thule removal. And so this is an image of all three mechanics trucks on site welding on a smooth edge on a bucket so we can get to work. And this is just, I wanted to highlight that it's great to see because we haven't had a full complement of mechanics in quite some time. And so they immediately get to work and they're innovative and they do great work and we're really happy.
Maybe you should have the whole staff come in so we could say thank you.
Yeah.
Is
Hey,
is-
sure.
that our bucket?
That is not our bucket.
What do we?
So
welding on
we're,
it?
we like to call ourselves adventurous here at CCWD because we can weld that on and we can take it right off when we're time
Nobody
to
will
return
know.
the bucket. So nobody's put out and everyone's happy and our project has been completed.
Maybe we should buy a bucket. So,
Yeah, that's quite a bucket
Yeah.
right there. Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, turn the other way.
Hey.
Russ, and say that.
Yeah. Music to my ears. The electricians, now we're moving on to the electricians. And so Flexum flow meters have really come of age. So these are magnetic flow meters that we can strap onto pipe. And our electricians have gotten really good at understanding how to program them and how to set the K factor or the smoothness of the inside of a pipe into the programming so that we can get an accurate flow read. And this is associated with our West Point second filter project. So we have to do some workarounds while we're implementing a second filter. And this is one of those. Backwash return flow and pump station. We still need to understand how much water we're returning. It's a regulatory requirement. We can't return more than 10% of the raw stream as backwash water. And so our guys can go ahead and install a flex and flow meter and show the operator just exactly what we're doing. And we can continue to comply while also being flexible to a capital project. So hats off to our folks for their flexibility. This is an interesting one. Jenny Lind ozone generator tripped, wouldn't operate. Electricians arrive on site and there are actually internal breakers in the unit that tripped as a result of a restricted valve. So the unit tripped those breakers kind of as a safety measure. So we opened the valve's been repaired, and then our electricians are able to get back in there and replace those little tiny breakers there, like knife switches really, in the actual ozone unit. And then so some of us participated in a tour of the Jenny Lind water treatment plant. I just think it's always really important to illustrate the efficiency of these front end flush clarifying units on the front end of the filters at Jenny Lind, because that water, that is manganese in that water supply. That, you know, it looks like probably the strongest iced tea you would ever drink, but it's actually all the manganese that we've extracted from the raw stream, and we're now cleaning off these.
Kombucha.
Yeah, you could call it kombucha. We could try to market it that way maybe. But there's in that basin, there's thousands, over 20,000 of these little plastic beads. They kind of look like lentils.
Mhm.
And the way the system works is there's a flash coagulation upstream of those lentil beads. And then all of the debris catches in the voids of the beans. So as the water molecule flows up through those restrictions, the dirt and debris is stripped away, and that includes the manganese. And so when you go ahead and then clean it, which you agitate all those beads, and you shake it and you hit it with air and you reverse flow and you increase the velocity, you shake off all that manganese, and it's just really kind of remarkable to be there and see. And it just illustrates, you know, the great work that our folks do at Jenny Lind and all the treatment facilities, and actually how effective these filters are and these clarifiers.
I see Francisco in that picture.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's a great tour.
Yeah,
Nice.
it was a really fun afternoon. Yeah. And then the image on the left here, we're looking at these TCU 5300 turbidimeters. So these actually measure the clarity of the water. So we shine a light through one side of the water stream, and whatever we get back on the other side determines how clean and clear the water supply is. And so I think John Brown is kind of giving a kind of a understanding of how that works in the image on the left, and talking about, you know, clarity or turbidity for a treatment plant operator is kind of equivalent to, you know, how much do you bench press? You know, what's your turbidity at your water plant? How clean can you make your water is essentially that question that you always see it, you know, when folks are gathering for training or at some sort of water treatment event or function. And Jenny Lind's water is extremely clean. All of our facilities, 0.02, 0.03, and that's really, really clean water.
What happens to the manganese that you flush out of those beads?
So, the water goes into a backwash return basin, and then we decant. So all the debris is allowed to settle. And so if you can imagine a serpentine belt of basins, so we're going to take the decanted water at the farthest basin, and we're going to return just under 10% of that. And then at the closest basins to the facility, all that debris is going to settle. And if you let it sit there long enough, it would turn into essentially like peat. It's like you could cut it with a flat spade and build a house out of it if you wanted to. But what we do is we suck it out. It's still full of water. It's about 80% solid. And our collections crew members use the vac trucks to suck out the backwash basins when they get full. And then we have storage basins where we allow those solids to dry up. And you'd be amazed at how small they are once all the water's gone. And then we scoop all that up, put it in a dumpster, and we send it to the landfill.
Down to Kettleman City?
No. I believe it's just through, it's not, Sassoon where we send our biosolids. It's just literally into the dumpster.
Okay.
So White Pines tule removal. So what you're looking at here is all of the tules that had gathered over time in the spillway. So the image on the right kind of shows the edge of the spillway, and in the left of the image, the concrete kind of looks like about 2 foot wide
You recognize it?
seam there. And so, I mean, I
Still-
can't say enough great things about the construction crew. They did just tremendous work removing these tules, and efficient and fast, so much so that our focus was really the tules in the spillway. This was a DSOD requirement, Division of Dam Safety said, you got to get those tules out of that spillway. We said, yep, we're on it. But they got it done so quickly, we were able to improve and remove tules around the majority of the lake. And so this kind of shows the finished product of the spillway and the image on the left. And so
Did you guys find any lures?
we found it, Michael found a tire and then a flipper. Yeah.
I got a bunch of fishing lures in those totally.
Oh,
I'd like to get them back if.
I only found one flipper though, so I tend to swim around in circles.
Yeah. We'll ask the guys. They might have found yours. Oh, I have Scott's lure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we also put some buoys out in front of that spillway in here in November, so we can just alert everybody that it's no longer full of tules. So if you get close to that edge, it's literally a spillway now.
Those
And
are
so,
orange.
yeah,
Yeah, those orange. I saw them.
floating, yeah, exactly. And so the image on the right is a before. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to put the before and after on the same slide. So the before, and then the image on the left, you can kind of just, it's a little bit farther down the road from the before, but you can kind of see what the finished product looks like once we get all those tules out of there. And then the construction crew at work piling them up here in the image on the right. And then, this is kind of how the operation worked. Take the excavator with the thumb on it and put everything into the dump truck, get it out of there, clean reservoir in the image on the right. And then more of the tules on the left, no tules on the right. Just.
Where did you
project.
say you took the tules once they loaded up? Did they have to go to like a hazmat? Was it considered hazmat at all or?
So they're still on our property. We have to remove the tules themselves. And so our guys separated that, and then the dirt, you can see what they did in the image on the right here as they cocoa matted it and swept it. So all that is dirt, and it's just a berm on our property there. Really clean work. They did a great
I
job.
went out there and looked and the lake looks really good. I was
Yeah.
impressed. Yeah,
We're-
very nice.
We're really proud of those guys. And just some inspirational pictures, while they're working, CCWD lost a dear employee, and this is what the construction crew wanted to convey here. You got a bald eagle in the image on the left, and then just kind of the sun coming up
Oh,
on the right, and just
And this is how it looks.
Going
This is
down
How it
after.
looks.
yeah, right.
And
Yeah.
there is the-
Yeah.
And
So,
then your
Oh,
tribute.
that's a
Yeah.
bald eagle.
Yeah.
And then, yeah,
yeah.
I think you should say something about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're just, Dylan was with CCWD for 20 years, and he was just a wonderful
Going to be
employee.
missed.
And he's going to be missed deeply, and our hearts go out to his friends and family.
I'll send this to his mom.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
when you give
Thank
me
you, Damon.
the address.
Yeah.
thank you, Damon.